Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Hiker Sessions, where we discuss backpacking and hiking with long-distance hikers, day hikers, and everyone in between. Today, we're joined by someone I met on my 2024 AT thru hike, and I really enjoyed being around him. We had great conversations. We're welcoming in today Kitty Slayer, and I know people are going to want to know how you get the trail name. We'll get to it, I promise everybody. But welcome in, Kitty. How you been doing?
Been doing great.
Awesome. It's so great to see you. You were one of the guys, you always stayed pretty clean shaven, right?
Whole trail.
All trail. Kitty Slayer and I, we met on May 8th, day after my birthday, actually, at the Mountain Harbor Bed and Breakfast and Hiker Hostel. And that's northbound mile 395.9. After that, of course, the next day we hit the 400 mark. We crossed the Tennessee-Virginia state line together. You and I, yes. And he was Coyote then, but he became Professor Milkshake. I remember us standing there taking pictures and just so excited to get to another state. We had drinks together at the Appalachian Distillery and Brewery. I remember the guy there bought us our first round, which was nice of him. Right. And we had a great dinner. I think you and I and Professor Milkshake and Copter at Wilson's Grill there, yes. There in town. Now, you stayed, what was that hostel you stayed in town in Damascus? Do you remember?
It was kind of a hole in the wall, and the air conditioning was out.
Yeah, the Broken Fiddle.
Yeah. Oh, yes, the Broken Fiddle.
That's what it was. I remember because it had those trees out front, and there was people threw their shoes.
Yeah, it was right at the end of the road there, and
yeah, people, because that's actually, it's funny because that seems, and I think that's mile, what was that mile? It's like 470, I think it's around 470 miles in.
That sounds about, that range.
And that's where I got my first mail drop, and because my trail runners that I was using were falling apart.
Oh, yeah, that mileage they would be.
So I think I know at Neil's Gap, people throw the shoes in the trees when they quit. I think here it's where just people throw their first set that they're done. How many pairs of shoes? How many pairs of shoes do trail runners? What do you use for shoes?
I actually wore Obo's Bridger boots, so I was getting 800 miles out of those. So I went through 3 pair.
That's the good part about the boots. I know our friend Pilgrim, he used 2 pairs the whole way. So you save money probably by going with the boots, right?
It wasn't so much the money. It was just, I was comfortable. That's what I'd always hiked in. The rough, rocky sections I felt comfortable in. You always heard the horror stories, once they get wet, they're wet forever. And I think they're waterproof boots. I think I had wet feet 2 days, maybe.
Oh.
I just, I'd take them off at lunch and let them air out a little bit. And I never dunked them. Maybe once or twice I dunked them and just poured them out right away, and they worked out wonderful for me. You get jealous looking at all those people and those comfy trail runners, but it was all that hike your own hike, and it worked for me.
Yeah, I was jealous of people with the boots in Pennsylvania right at the end. Pennsylvania's not too bad till you get to that last 40 miles. Then I was like, oh man, I would love to, because I used to use Keens when I first started. I'd have loved to have a pair of Keens on right then. It was nice. Let's see. So we were in Damascus together. We hiked through the Grayson Highlands that day together. And then we stayed at, I'll never forget it. We stayed at that Travel Inn in Marion, Virginia.
Oh, yes. You
and I and Copter, and we went to that Puerto Mexican food. Sure. That was good. That was,
my wife
really
and I
good.
refer to motels like that as indoor camping.
Yeah. It's very low budget, but it was fine. And then another thing I remember was that we got out the next day, and I pretty sure we got overcharged on a shuttle ride. That lady picked us up and charged us, I think, $30 to go 5.7 miles, which I thought
we stopped for breakfast.
Yeah.
Yes.
We shouldn't have stopped. And then I think the last time we saw each other, it was actually, I did look this up. It was May 19th, and it was Nobo mile 558.6. It was the AT crosses, you come out of the woods and it crosses Route 42, and right down the road is the Bear Garden Hiker Hostel where I had gone. Because they had the best internet I could find, and I was uploading my daily videos.
Oh, that's right. You're always chasing the electronics.
Yeah, I was chasing the internet, which was terrible down south. But anyway, they had fiber optic internet. It was amazing, and the people there, the owners, were awesome, Bob and Roberta. And then I came back down, and you and Copter were having lunch. There was like a big
the beach barn or shed or something like that.
Yeah. So, and I think that was the last time I saw you, because as we've talked a little bit about off air here, I had a specific date. I had to meet my buddy's son at a road crossing at noontime. And I never did that again, but I was on like a hard schedule. So I probably did more miles than I should have, but that got me just enough ahead of you that I never saw you again. So, and this is the first time I'm seeing you. Like I said, I'm excited. So what day... one of the things I'm always curious about with everybody, regardless of age, is like your background, obviously, and I'll get you to give me a little of that, but what led you up to, including like inspiration and everything, of setting that first step on the AT? So why don't we just a little bit about your background in general back home?
I had retired March 20th, but I'd been planning this for probably 2 or 3 years, been bicycling my whole life, 100,000 plus miles on the bicycle, outdoors all the time. Met my wife bicycling 25 years ago. My son's bicycled since he was tall enough to reach the pedals. So we've been doing that for years, outdoors all the time. As I approached retirement, I couldn't go from being a desk chair jockey for 40 years and then what's next? So I needed some milestone. With all the bicycling, one of the things I'd thought about for quite some time was riding cross country. And I had complete confidence I could do that. It's 3,000 miles. It's no small task, but based on my background and so forth, I was completely confident I could do that. We'd been car camping a lot and started backpacking 6-7 years ago, and started running into some thru hikers every so often. And you see the movies and stuff, and it's like that was it. It would truly be a challenge, and I wasn't positive I could do it.
Yeah. What gave you the questions on yourself? Was it the physical, or was it the time involved?
Yeah. The gear's always exciting, and you can spend all kinds of time shopping for that until you get on the trail and you realize it ain't about the gear. The physical, I could train for that. It was the unknown. I'm very much a planner all through my career as a CPA. There's checklists and schedules and deadlines, and everything was measured out. And you get to the trail and plans go out the window right away. So the unknown was a challenge. I researched in guidebooks, and I actually, a year before, I kind of watched the weather, and I virtual hiked each day, going through with one of the guidebooks and watching the weather. And okay, this is what I'd expect on April 5th. And then this is where I'd be on April 6th. So I kind of did a virtual hike of it, but that went out the window right away too.
That's cool. You said you had met some thru hikers. Now, do you, correct me here, are you from Ohio? Do you live in Ohio?
Indiana.
Okay. So where did you run into thru hikers? Obviously you guys traveled to some spots where you ran into them?
We'd go to southern Indiana, because northern Indiana, where I'm at, is flat and no trails. Southern Indiana has lots of ups and downs, low elevation maybe, but you got plenty of climbs and descents and so forth. And we'd go with some group hikes and so there. And on those group hikes, you run into 1 or 2 people, and, they always look mellow and, very relaxed when they're hiking and not stressed, setting things up or whatever. And you sit around the campfire and you chat, and it's like, okay, this sounds good, interesting. It'd be a next step for sure.
And when you first started, say the first week or so, you mentioned your career, very detail oriented, black and white. How did that kind of just wing it thing kind of, how did that affect you? How'd you deal with that?
Actually, it was amazing how quickly the stress went away. So I retired, and 10 days later, I was stepping onto the trail. And I slept. Obviously, you hike all day, you're tired. I slept through the night. I didn't wake up in the middle of the night worrying about things. I still tried to do some of the planning, but one of my goals was to become more flexible and relaxed. And the trail will do that for you. You don't have a lot of things to worry about, shoveling food in your mouth and taking steps northbound, and that's about it.
You either walk. I know I had on a gentleman, he's got a very popular podcast, Mighty Blue, and that's what he said. He said, you get up in the morning, you either walk or you don't walk. That's your options for the day.
Right.
Yeah, you said you've been backpacking for about 6 or 7 years. How much through those 6 or 7 years, or even just before you jumped on the Appalachian Trail, did you tweak your gear and things?
Oh, quite a bit. I was 40 pounds plus with gear and so forth, kind of coming from a car camping background. And then, of course, all those planning things of, well, I need a backup for this, and I need an extra one of these. And what if it rains, or what if you pack all those what ifs and fears, and those get heavy. A box of wine on top of that for a little refreshment with the wife at the top of some campsite. And it's like, it gets heavy fast.
Did you weigh your pack at Amicalola? Did you weigh it there, or do you have an idea what it was?
I did. I had a 20-pound base weight, and by the time I got food and water and stuff, I was typically carrying 30 pounds.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's good.
And, and as you experienced, by the time you were halfway, nobody even talked about weights anymore. It's like, hey, it just didn't matter. Everybody had their stuff dialed in how they wanted it.
Yeah, it's funny. The first few weeks, everybody talked about gear or weight. And then after that, it was, I don't think anyone, I'd run into people like trail magic people or people in a town, and they'd want to know how much the pack weighed. But other than that, not really anybody. What was the one piece of gear, like of the major ones, that you traded out before you started the AT?
I don't think I really did. I kind of had most of my gear dialed in a year in advance. So I wasn't making a lot of changes. I was shedding things that I was trying not to carry. And I really didn't have any big changes. I had it dialed in. I sent 2 batches of things home that, backups and what ifs and so forth, as well as the weather warmed up a little bit, and had to swap out a pair of pants because I lost so much weight. But actually, I kept the same pair of pants the whole way too.
Did you change out anything along the way, or just pretty much just sending stuff away?
Just sending stuff away and replacing expendable things like footwear and so forth.
Nice. What you mentioned the weight and thing of your pack. I'm sure that didn't surprise you, because it sounds like you'd done a lot of prep work, hiking and things the year before. What surprised you on the trail, either during or looking back on it? Anything surprises jump out at you?
No, I done a lot of research, and it was the climbs and actually the descents were the hardest, and I really hadn't experienced those to that degree. So that was hard.
Yeah. What were you looking forward to? What were there any things or places, or that you did in your research? You're like, man, if I'm still on the trail, I can't wait to make it there and see that.
Yeah, you see everybody's pictures. So of course, you got to get to McAfee Knob, and we hit that at noon on a great day, and so got the great pictures and so forth. And Harper's Ferry and Katahdin. The rest of it was just like, I won't see it as it comes, and so forth. You come back with all the pictures and so forth, and even with an iPhone and no photography skills, it's just like, you look at the pictures and you're amazed what you saw.
I always struggle with that between, having my phone out and just enjoying the scenery and stuff. But it is nice, I must admit, at least for myself, I'll just sit and go through my iPad looking at all the pictures I took, and it brings back a lot of memories and things like that. What did you have any? You mentioned you weren't sure if you could do it. We all have questions, the physical part, the mental part, and things like that. What was your expectation on setting out? I know a lot of us all start alone. I think most people start alone. what was your expectations as far as, being part of the community or finding a hockey partner or things like that?
I knew I was kind of maybe mid, late in the bubble. So I knew there'd be quite a few people, and I knew there was a huge attrition rate. So I focused on my distances and my hiking that I wanted to do, and, kind of that hike your own hike, meeting people. I mean, it is amazing. There are people that I met on the trail that I would never interact with in my day-to-day life. I mean, it's such a vast group of people, yet everything was genuine. You fell into people and you chat, and it didn't really matter what your background was or what your goals were. You were just comfortable. It worked out great. And one of the interesting things, particularly being an election year, I was shocked. There was no politics on the trail. I think I heard of the shooting and Biden dropping out. And other than that, no discussion at all. And, the other, controversial topic you kind of run into in groups and so forth is religion. And other than, you'd catch somebody that, you sat down to eat with them and, they'd silently pray or something, but you didn't get preached to. You get occasional God bless you and things like that. But religion, lifestyles, nothing really mattered. Everybody was out there doing the same thing.
Yeah, it was a great equalizer. I found the trail. Nobody even talked about sports. My buddy from back home would text me, "Oh, the Celtics are in the NBA Finals." I'm like, "What?" Like, I didn't even know. But yeah, I love that part as well. And I think the funny story. I'll tell you. We'd been texting to set this up the other day, and you said, you can go on my Facebook page to get some pictures and things, because during this, and people will see them as we're talking here, I love to put in pictures every few minutes of pictures you took and maybe places we went together. And I'm like, I don't know his name. Steve, right?
Steve, yeah.
Steve, I'm like, I can't find him on Facebook. I don't even know his last name. And I think, and I'm going to ask you to speak on this. I thought, because I had all these expectations and perceptions of what the trail was going to be, I thought that you would get out there and there'd just be like BS flying everywhere, right? Because nobody knows anybody, and, people just coming up with a lot, just to make themselves bigger or whatever. I found it to be the entire opposite. And you touched on it a couple minutes ago about the genuineness. I found with having a trail name, Sloggy, Kitty Slayer, Pilgrim, the anonymity created more honesty because people could be more honest with each other. It found it. I'd love your thoughts on that.
You were all doing the same thing. So you didn't have to prove anything to anybody. You and I met at mile 400. Well, we'd both hiked 400 miles. We didn't have anything to prove to each other. It's just, and you're out there a lot of times by yourself for many of those footsteps. So when you run into somebody, it's nice to talk. And it's just interesting hearing so many different backgrounds, their stories and their life and their goals. So you want it to be genuine. And as you said, the trail name just gives you a little bit of anonymity, and chances are you may never see those people again. So there's nothing you have to worry about when you're sharing things. Although it's funny, you think about not running into people ever again. I met Copter, a gentleman that I hiked with for probably 500 miles. We registered at Amicola within 2 hours of each other and didn't meet each other for a month probably.
Wow.
And hiked together quite a bit. And then there were people that I was running into, yourself or others early on the first half of the trail. And then I get to that last 2-3 weeks and I'm running into some people again. I've been within a day or two of them just following up the trail the whole time. And then you run into them all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know Professor Milkshake, we figured it out. He was within 3 hours of me in Massachusetts at one point, where we stepped up on Greylock, that lodge and the big tower. Yeah. I had breakfast there at like 8:30, and he had lunch there at like 11:30. It's just crazy how close you can come within what? When did you finish? What was your finish date?
I finished September 20th.
Okay. So I was on the 8th. So yeah. So yeah, and I think he was maybe a week between us. So everybody gets pretty close. Did you you mentioned Copter? Any other connections you made on the trail that like you maybe you still text with or anything like that? And did that surprise you that you were able to make like close friendships out there?
There are a few people that I kind of touched base with after the trail. Just, hey, how'd you do? When'd you finish? And so forth. No deep friendships, I would say, but I definitely Copter and I, like I said, we spent about 500 miles together, and it was good. He'd done half the trail or portion of the trail the year before, so gained a lot of knowledge there, and he set a real steady 2 mile an hour pace, which was just nice sweet spot, and it kind of got me over that hump of I've been through the first month getting rid of stuff I didn't need and learning things, and spending time with him really it helped me dial it in. It made me a professional hiker, I guess.
Yeah. You learn every day out there. On the physical side, did you have anything that popped up along the trail? Any ailments or anything that maybe slowed you down or kind of harassed you?
I tweaked my ankle a couple times on ledges, and it's just like, and they look so simple, and it's just like, all you had just one little slip, and oops. I had shin splints for 2 or 3 days just on one shin, but other than that, I was pretty injury free. I really listened to my body. I was slow going down hills. I'm fine going up. You can see everything. If you slip or fall, you're just going forward and you kind of catch yourself. But those downhills, those are a little wicked sometimes.
Yeah, I that's where I really took my time going down. When I hear someone say that, like you did about going, it just pops into my mind going down Madison in New Hampshire. I don't know if you remember going down Mount Madison, but I think I was with 3 other people. We took a 0 a couple of days after that because just my knees and things going down is definitely the hardest, especially through the Whites and Western Maine. What about the mental side? As far as, I mean, you have a family back home like myself, and to be on the trail 5-6 months is a long time. How did that affect you?
It was a big sacrifice for my wife. I had a Garmin, so I would send her just a check-in message in the evenings where I was at, and she could, zoom in with her phone and, almost see the shelter that I was at, depending on the trees coverage. And then I'd check in that I survived the night and I was starting out in the morning. And then, when I'd hit towns and so forth and had cell reception, I'd call and so forth. So that worked out well. And she was great support, just mentally knowing she was there. And then as I got toward the end, about 300 miles to go, it's getting hard and you're thinking about quitting. And it's like, she would kill me if I came home now. I gotta finish.
Did she backpack with you? You mentioned you guys had started backpacking. Was it you or the children or her? What did that look like?
She came out for a couple days in Waynesboro.
Okay.
So she came out, and actually we went up trail. We got shuttled up trail, and then we spent 2 10-mile days hiking southbound back to the hostel. And I mean, she was, I was at that point, I was doing, 17, 18-mile days usually. And she did 10 miles and she was keeping up. So, it was kind of fun. And the best part was we were going southbound. So we spent 2 days going southbound, running into people that I'd seen on trail. Those people that you're, 3 hours away from the whole trail.
Yeah.
Seeing them for a couple of days. So, it was great to have her out and experience that at best day on trail, of course.
Yeah. Did you have good weather for those 2 days?
We did.
Yeah. That's good.
Really lucky weather-wise. I think I was, because I'd run into people that were a week or so behind me, and it's just rain and wet and stuff. I think I was kind of in front of all the rain and so forth. I caught one hurricane. I spent 3 hours walking through wind and heavy rain, but I bet no more than a couple dozen days in the rain. So I was happy with that. And you ask about, family and so forth. Had a 4-year-old granddaughter. So as I went along the trail, she's had a very tiny, she's got a stuffed panda bear that she was, or a polar bear that she's very attached to. So as I went along the trail, I carried my bear with me, and I took pictures, next to a waterfall, or a lot of pictures with the flowers, because as you're going up the trail, the flowers change every day, and you may see one flower one time. So about every couple of weeks, I would push a couple dozen photos up to Shutterfly and mail her prints. So, little kids, you get something in the mail, and it's a big orange envelope, so you get a look at it. And that made a nice connection. And actually, I was in, it's probably Pennsylvania, and it was hot, and I was tired and just really demoralized. And my son sent me a video of her taking those photos and putting them into a photo album. And it's just like, that picked me back up. And then when I got home, so it was like, photo album holds 400 pictures. I get home, all those ones I'd sent, there were about 4 slots that were empty.
Wow. Hey, that's a great idea. That's really cool. I like the idea. I did daily videos, but I really like the idea of sending something in the mail and getting something, because I know I was lucky to get that when my wife would send me mail drops. My 2 older daughters and her would send me notes, and I cherish those notes. So getting something tangible in the mail like that is really cool. And then you can, of course, sit down with her now and go through the pictures and tell her about it. What was your worst? You mentioned the rain and the hurricane stuff. What was your worst day on trail that you close your eyes and, maybe you didn't think about quitting, but it was just a bad day, and it could have been for any kind of reasons. What did that day look like?
I'd left around the bend. It was raining that morning, so the van dropped me off the trailhead in the rain, and then it was just a steady, cold rain. I don't know, maybe 45 degrees or something like that. Hadn't quite got my rain gear dialed in, and I got to the next shelter. It might have been 5-7 miles up. I was cold. I was wet. I was miserable. And it was that was my worst day on trail.
Did you think about, did you question why you were out there? You're like, man, I could be home in Indiana right now in my nice leather brown chair. Like, did those things pop into your head?
No, it's just like, I just wanted to be warm and dry. And next day, it's like, I was fine. It was just that one day just turned out to be miserable.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're going to have some along the way. What about when you think about, like, I know in my office, I have pictures of my hike and things, and, it just brings a smile to my face. What are some memories that you cherish, experiences on the trail? Everybody asks about views, but what are just some memories that you cherish, and you're like, I'm never going to forget some of these things I did out there?
You mentioned the views, and one of the views that I kind of remember, and I always go back to, of course you go through the Smokies and you hear about it and so forth. And when I got to Maine, it's like the views and the Smokies in Maine have the Southern Smokies beat hands down. I've got a picture as you go to summit, you come out of the rocks and you get that nice view. And I was looking out at the mountains, and there were clouds, and they were flowing like rivers. And so I've got a photo of it, and it's a great photo. But when I close my eyes, it's like, this is amazing. So if I've got like stress, it's like, you're going to the dentist or doing anything, it's like I just close my eyes and I just watch those clouds. And that's my memory of how relaxing. That
Have you been able to bring, I know one of your goals you said was to, kind of like throw away the rules, if you will, that you had restraining you when you were working. It sounds like you did find that on the trail. Have you been able to keep it up and, in your back to regular life now? And do you think about it? Is it a conscious thing that you're thinking about?
It's really more unconscious. I'm much more relaxed. Driving, I don't let things frustrate me like they do. I'll still honk and so forth, but I'm less less frustrated driving. I can go 2 or 3 days without swearing. You get on the trail and it's just like tripped again. There's another route. That rock stumbled me. It's like you dealt with things, and it's like I realized that it'll take care of itself.
What did you miss when you got home? I know I missed being outside. I felt that it really affected me. Did you? Obviously, we all take a couple zeros after you get home to relax and meet with family and stuff. But did you start hiking or walking or biking? You probably missed biking, right?
I missed biking. So it was into season here, but I was still able to get out for most weekends. You came off the trail with incredible fitness, but it doesn't quite translate to the bicycling completely. But I was still able to go out and do a 40-50 mile ride and hang with the people I always hang with before. So that was good. I did a lot of walking. I'd lost weight on the trail. I'd probably lost good 20 pounds. And I was like, I had 10 I wanted to lose, and I wanted to keep that off too. So, got home, and so I, go to the bank, I'll walk, go to the grocery store, throw a backpack on and grab some groceries. So I've still been doing the walking and so forth. And then as soon as the winter breaks here, I'll get back into the cycling too.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'll ask you the question I ask everyone. Any other long trails or shorter trails in mind? Like, are you like, I would mind trying the PCT or the long trail or some other trail like that? Do you think about doing something like that?
No, no through hikes anymore. I don't think my wife would tolerate that. And so I've got my fingers crossed that she doesn't choose that as a retirement goal. She's a few years younger than me, but we'll go out and we'll do some longer hikes. Looked at Hadrian's Wall and, in England, and, maybe the Camino Trail, something like that. That's manageable. 3-4 weeks is good. 3 or 4 months does not have the appeal.
Yeah. You mentioned if she retired, so she had a great 2 days on the AT out there with you, nice weather, and liked it. If she retires and says, well, I'd like to do the AT now, do you think you'd go with her?
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it'd be hard, but it was hard the first time. It'll be easier the second time.
What would you do different? So you're, as you said, the professional backpacker. You've had your ups, downs. You knew what not to take, what to send home. So you'd be mentoring her. What would you do different along the way? Either stay at a different hostel or gear, or what are some things like, oh, shoot, I should have done that?
I might be a little bit more diligent in my mileage. I'd get a little lazy sometimes and take shorter days. So although I wasn't in a rush, I finished. So sitting on the couch Thanksgiving the year before, it's like sitting there, playing CPA and doing the math and, X miles per day and 1 day off a week. And I finished within 5 days of my original plan.
Wow.
Without, and once I was on the trail, it's like the plan had totally went out the window. So it was just like I was going whatever I went those days. And so I don't know that I'd change a lot. I'd probably Sherpa a little bit of her gear for her.
You say that now, so you're going down.
At least thrown away.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, look, I don't want to hold you up any longer. I was very excited to talk to you because, again, you were one of the people that I probably hiked. You see hundreds and hundreds of people, but, yourself, I call it, I think I was on another interview with someone, your tribe. Like, people have their little tramily, but then you also have this tribe of 15 or 20 people that you were around a lot and got to know just enough that you're like, well, that wasn't just like a passerby, and I considered you one of those people. And I'm always trying to connect. And I'm hoping I did order the hiker yearbook because a lot of people, I don't remember their trail names or things, but I'm wondering what happened to people.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself wondering about certain people? Like, I wonder if she made it or he made it.
I popped onto the ATC and kind of scroll through there, looking for those hiker names, and okay, good, they made it, and so forth, and and I knew you'd hear people that got off trail and so forth. Probably the most frustrating one is I'd hiked with a couple, and they were 1,700 miles into the trail, probably a week 2 or 3 days ahead of me, maybe. And I heard he got off trail with appendicitis. And it's like, you think all the things, injury, emergency at home, and so forth that could take off trail. And to have something like that take off trail, it's like, how frustrating.
Yeah. Who was that, if you don't mind me asking?
It
wasn't Ma and Pa Wampus, was it?
No, it was a younger couple, probably in their these Loose Screw and 3M.
Okay. No, I don't think I met them, but yeah, that'd be awful frustrating for that. I did, when I got back home, I did a couple of trail magics for people that were a day or two behind me. And then I actually was inspired, and I'm retired like you. And I started my own shuttle service from Millinocket to Bangor and then up to Monson, because as you found, probably there's not like a lot of solid public transportation up in this part of the trail. So I figure it'll be a way to stay connected to the trail or not. All right. So last question. Did you take part in the ice cream challenge, the half-gallon challenge? Did you do it?
I did.
Awesome.
Although I stayed overnight there, I spread it out over lunch and dinner.
Yeah, I did too. I was hiking with some guys, and I did it, and I just sat there for like a half an hour, 40 minutes drinking water, relaxing, and then I pitched a tent and spent the night. I was hiking with some people who showed up the next morning and did it, and then hiked out that day. And I don't think you got to do what you got to do, but that would have not been my preferred way to do the half-gallon challenge, to eat it and then hike 15 miles that day.
Well, it's I think it might have been one of yours where you were joking about your credit card getting hacked at the ice cream store. And it's like, I was eating ice cream by the pint, and it was not unusual to grab a second pint. So I was well trained for the half-gallon challenge.
Yeah, it was actually a little easier than I thought it was going to be, but you lose all that weight, and it was exciting to hit the halfway point too. So,
oh yeah,
well, that's awesome. Well, look, if if your wife ever decides to do the AT and you make it up to Maine, you've got a free shuttle and food drop in the 100-mile wilderness for sure. And even if you ever come out to Maine to vacation or whatever, you come out here to Katahdin National Park or whatever, feel free to look me up. I'll help you out any way I can. Love to have a lunch.
I will do that, because Maine is on my short list. We're going to do some section hikes. I think Maine and Shenandoahs are definitely on our list of ones to hit.
Yeah, you got to definitely bring your wife up and do the 100-mile wilderness. That's you can stay at Shaw's and then Millinocket on the other end. I think that'd be an awesome, 7 to 10 day hike for you guys.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I will share my motto for the trail from my local bar, O'Sullivan's, was never let the struggles of life interfere with the pleasures of living.
I like it.
It's kind of, I dropped that quote into a few logbooks along the way, and that was kind of my theme for the hike.
I like that. The other one that I liked, it's not as nice as yours or poetic, but it was quit or keep hiking. Those are the choices. I would see somebody would kept writing that in the logbooks. I'm like, yeah, that's simple. But I like yours much better. Well, look, it was great to see you and talk to you. I could talk to you all day. After you're home a few weeks, none of my family is, they're kind of sick of talking about the hike now, so
yeah.
Got to be careful where you crowbar it in.
That's right. Great seeing some of your videos, and excited to be included.
Awesome. No, I'm excited to have you, and I will talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Kitty Slayer. The one thing that we forgot to do was find out how he got his trail name. So this will be the first interview that I add an epilogue to. He brought the trail name to the trail of Kitty Slayer. He and his wife were on a tandem bicycle going down a very steep hill, going very, very fast, and a cat darted out in front of them. He says he's not sure what ended up happening to the cat, but once his friends heard of the tale, they soon gave him that nickname of Kitty Slayer, and he brought it to the trail with full force. He even had his own icon made on his sticker that he had stuck to his bear canister. It was yellow, as you can see here, but in the dark it glowed red, which is really cool. Hope you all enjoyed the story, and we will see you next time on Hiker Sessions.